the inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
We have determined that our restaurant model is not a fit for the bank's development, and we are interested in relocating. Today we wanted the businesses, restaurant, and general community now that we will meet our obligations and remain open while we implement relocation plans.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. From its very inception, Mahogany's at the Banks has found itself in the center of controversy that had nothing to do with the menu. This past week, owner Liz Rogers announced that the restaurant will close at the Banks, but that she hopes it will relocate, perhaps to over the Rhine. Here is a brief report from Local 12 reporter Sydney Benter last Tuesday of some of the emotions that surrounded that announcement.
We have determined that our restaurant model is not a fit for the bank's development, and we are interested in relocating.
Financial troubles finally got the best of Mahogany's at the Banks, but owner Liz Rogers says the restaurant still has a future elsewhere in the city.
Despite the challenges, we have never walked away from liabilities, any of our liabilities.
A letter from the bank's leasing agent last week says Rogers owed upwards of $22,000 in past due rent and other charges. Rogers' attorney says the letter is full of inaccuracies. Supporters claim her business was unfairly targeted.
For some reason, Liz Rogers has been the poster child of businesses not paying back their loans.
We want the city of Cincinnati to really be aware that this is an injustice against the black community, against black entrepreneurs, and black-owned businesses.
Kadasha Israel was also on hand to support Rogers today. She relates to her as a fellow female small business owner.
For an African-American woman to be in such a prestigious area, and it was kind of disappointing today to see as few community supporters.
A lot has been said about Liz Rogers and Mahogany's, not only in the press, but on social media. I've invited Ms. Rogers to be my guest this morning to let her tell the story from her perspective. I'm joined this morning by the owner of Mahogany's, Liz Rogers. We are also joined by her lawyer, Robert Croskery. Welcome to Newsmakers, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Morning.
Liz, let's start out. How did this get started in the sense of how did the idea of Mahogany's at the Banks, where did that idea come from that you would open a restaurant at the Banks? Was that your idea? Did the city come to you? I've never been totally clear about that.
Well, we had been in business in Hamilton for a couple of years, about a year and a half, and we were asked to do this project by the City of Cincinnati's administration, also the developers and some of the community leaders here in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we were doing very well in Hamilton, and they just came and asked us to do this project and to be the first African-American owned business to ever be part of a major multi-million-dollar development in the history of Cincinnati, Ohio. So it was really historical. We had a great business model, we had a great menu, and it was just really a great thing for the community. So we thought this would be a great thing for us.
When that suggestion was made, that proposal was made to you by the administration, that's a huge leap from being a restaurant in Hamilton to the center at the Banks. Did you worry that that was too much growth too quick?
I didn't, because we did have a very strong team at the time. We had a great business model, a great menu. The restaurant was extremely profitable there in the Banks as well. Most of our customers were from Cincinnati, Ohio. They were traveling from Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus. So we're more of a destination. We were promised a great deal of things that made us take this opportunity.
And if I can add,
sure.
I've been to that restaurant and had meals at Mahogany's when it was up in Hamilton. It was a great restaurant. It was set up just like something you'd see out of Chicago. Beautiful little deck lights, a little elevated area for seating. And Liz was doing a great job with it. And so somebody made the assumption, somebody in public enterprise made the assumption that they could take that and without doing the proper analysis, translate it down to Banks.
Well, without doing, that's what I'm getting at. Was the analysis done? And if so, who failed to do the analysis? Was it the city? Was it the developers? Was it Liz?
Retrospect is a lot easier. Hindsight is always much better. But what what I would say is you have a restaurant that's set up between two large sports enterprises and did not have the lunchtime crowd that had been promised. You didn't have the hotel there. You didn't have the things there that should have been there to support it. And you don't see a lot of other successful restaurants in that area. You have to go down and pay to park. Now, during Reds and Bengals games, you do see a lot of great bar business. And God bless the folks that are running the bars and getting people and packing them in. But private money, when we've tried to get major investors to help make this go, it might have gone, even if it was marginal. It probably was a marginal investment because of having the restaurant there is not as good as it should be. But in every case, if you could make it a destination and bring people down there, we still ran into the political obstacles. The fact that Liz would be under political attacks, that things would be leaked from the city, that there were people with political agendas. So for that reason, it really is not, I think, viable for her to remain at the banks.
Well, before we completely get off of the beginnings of this, you had issues in Hamilton with your restaurant with not paying some taxes and things, though. Is that true?
I did not feel that was an issue, and I'm actually glad.
First off, is it true?
No, not to that extent of what you're asking, no. There was an issue of a $3,000 tax bill. The taxes were filed and paid 2007, 8, and 9, skipped 2010, but was paid in 11. So it was just a pure oversight of the CPA. Once that came out, which I have no idea why it was relevant for Hamilton County, it was paid immediately. So it's not really possible to pay something years prior and then it was just skipped a year. So not really. I don't feel it was an issue. It's something that happens all the time. And as soon as it was brought to our attention, it was taken care of, but it didn't have anything to do with the restaurant.
And I represent a lot of businesses, and I can tell you that every single business I've ever represented has at one time or another overlooked a bill and brought it current. It's a $3,000 bill that should have been paid, certainly, and was paid when it was brought to her attention.
Right.
I just want to make sure